Welcome to the story of England's most resilient sheep, the Herdwick. For over 1,000 years, these remarkable animals have not only survived but thrived in the harsh fells of the Lake District. Today, we'll explore how these living monuments have shaped the landscape, influenced culture, and become symbols of adaptation and resilience. From their Norse origins to their champion Beatrix Potter, from near-extinction to culinary renaissance, this is the extraordinary tale of the grey guardians of Cumbria's ancient hills. The story of the Herdwick begins over a millennium ago, when Norse settlers brought these hardy sheep to the challenging terrain of what we now call the Lake District. The name Herdwick itself comes from the Old Norse word Herdwick, meaning sheep pasture, a linguistic echo of their Viking heritage. Archaeological evidence confirms their presence since at least the 12th century, and genetic studies show their distinctiveness from other British breeds, supporting theories of their Norse origins. While they share some genetic relationships with other ancient European mountain breeds, Herdwicks represent a living connection to the region's Viking past and constitute an irreplaceable agricultural resource that has been refined through centuries of selective breeding specifically for this environment. These sheep didn't just survive in Cumbria's notorious weather and difficult terrain, they became perfectly adapted to it, developing traits found in few other domesticated animals. What makes Herdwicks truly extraordinary is their remarkable set of adaptations to one of Britain's harshest environments. Unlike most domesticated sheep, they possess an incredible homing instinct and territorial attachment called hefting. This means they pass knowledge of their specific grazing territory from ewe to lamb, without needing fences, an inherited mental map that allows them to survive in mountain conditions where other breeds would quickly perish. Their physical characteristics are equally impressive. Herdwicks have a double-layered fleece that provides exceptional insulation against the region's notoriously wet and cold climate. Their strong legs and compact bodies enable them to navigate steep, rocky terrain with surprising agility. Perhaps most remarkably, they've evolved to thrive on the sparse, low-quality vegetation of the upland fells, converting plants that would be inedible to other livestock into sustainable nutrition. This ability to extract nourishment from the landscape's toughest vegetation has made them indispensable to generations of Lake District farmers. You can also track a Herdwick's age through its distinctive coloration development. Lambs are born with black faces and legs, which gradually lighten to brown and finally to white as they age, while their wool transforms from black to that characteristic steel gray. This natural color change serves as a built-in aging indicator for shepherds managing their flocks on the open fells. The Herdwick breed might have faded into obscurity without the passionate advocacy of one of England's most beloved children's authors, Beatrix Potter. While known worldwide for Peter Rabbit and her other animal tales, Potter's most enduring legacy may be her conservation work. After achieving literary success, Potter purchased Hilltop Farm in the Lake District in 1905, followed by numerous additional properties. As she became increasingly involved in farming, Potter developed a deep appreciation for Herdwick sheep. She wasn't just a casual admirer, she became an expert breeder, winning prestigious prizes at agricultural shows and eventually serving as president of the Herdwick Sheep Breeders Association, breaking barriers as the first woman to hold this position. Potter's intervention came at a critical moment in agrarian history. The post-war emphasis on maximizing production through industrialized farming threatened many heritage livestock breeds that couldn't compete with newer, faster-growing varieties. Upon her death in 1943, Potter made a decision that would prove crucial for the breed's survival. She bequeathed nearly 4,000 acres of Lake District farmland to the National Trust, with a specific stipulation: the farms must continue to breed Herdwick sheep. Without Potter's foresight in placing her lands under protection with specific breeding requirements, the Herdwick might have disappeared like so many other traditional breeds, during the agricultural modernization that followed World War II. Beatrix Potter's influence extended far beyond mere preservation of a sheep breed. Through her writings, illustrations, and public advocacy, she helped transform popular perception of the Lake District from simply beautiful scenery to a working landscape where traditional farming practices were integral to cultural heritage and environmental stewardship. Her vision of conservation was remarkably ahead of its time. She recognized that the distinctive character of the Lake District had been shaped by centuries of human-animal interaction, particularly through the grazing patterns of Herdwick sheep. Potter understood that preserving the landscape meant preserving the traditional farming practices that had shaped it. She saw the interconnection between the natural world, agricultural traditions, and cultural heritage long before such holistic approaches to conservation became mainstream. Her books celebrated the Lake District not just as pretty scenery, but as a living, working environment where people and nature had coexisted for centuries. By purchasing farms and ensuring they would continue traditional Herdwick breeding, Potter created a practical model of conservation that preserved both natural and cultural heritage. Her legacy reminds us that true conservation often requires preserving traditional human practices alongside natural features, a lesson that remains relevant as we face modern environmental challenges. Herdwick sheep play a crucial ecological role in maintaining the Lake District's distinctive landscape. Their grazing patterns have shaped the region's vegetation over centuries, creating those open fell landscapes that inspired poets like Wordsworth and Coleridge. What might appear to be a natural landscape is actually the product of centuries of careful management through these sheep. Their foraging behavior prevents scrub encroachment and maintains the diverse plant communities that characterize the Lake District's upland areas. Without the Herdwick's specific grazing patterns, the fells would gradually return to woodland and scrub, dramatically changing both the ecology and the iconic views that have made the region famous. The sheep have essentially become ecological engineers, maintaining a delicate balance in the ecosystem through their selective grazing. They prefer certain plants over others, creating microclimates and niches for diverse flora and fauna. Their hooves help maintain soil structure on the steep hillsides, preventing erosion while creating small disturbances that allow seeds to germinate. The sheep paths they create across the fells serve as corridors for other wildlife. This ecological role highlights how deeply integrated these animals are in the Lake District environment. They're not just livestock, but essential components of a complex ecosystem, shaped by centuries of coevolution between humans, animals, and landscape. In 2001, the Herdwick breed faced its greatest modern threat when the foot-and-mouth disease outbreak devastated British livestock. The Lake District was particularly hard hit, with estimates suggesting that up to one-third of all Herdwick sheep were culled to prevent disease spread. This catastrophic loss threatened not just the breed's genetic diversity, but the continuation of traditional farming practices that had been passed down through generations. The sight of pyres burning across the countryside as farmers were forced to destroy their flocks became a national trauma. For Herdwick farmers, the crisis was particularly devastating because of the hefting behavior of their sheep. When flocks that had maintained knowledge of specific fell territories for generations were culled, centuries of inherited landscape knowledge died with them. The recovery effort that followed demonstrated remarkable cooperation between farmers, conservation organizations, and government agencies. A breeding program was established to preserve remaining genetic lines, and traditional farming knowledge was carefully documented to ensure skills weren't lost between generations. Farmers shared breeding stock to help those who had lost entire flocks. This crisis revealed how quickly an ancient agricultural tradition could be brought to the brink of extinction, and galvanized support for preserving not just the sheep, but the entire farming system they represent. The recovery from foot-and-mouth disease became a powerful example of resilience and community solidarity in the face of agricultural disaster. Beyond disease outbreaks, Herdwick farmers face ongoing challenges from economic pressures and changing agricultural policies. The remote, small-scale nature of fell farming makes it difficult to compete in a globalized market, dominated by intensive production methods. Many Herdwick farms operate on marginal profitability, sustained more by tradition and love of the way of life than economic reward. The average age of fell farmers continues to rise as younger generations seek more profitable and less demanding careers. Changing subsidy systems following Brexit have created additional uncertainty for these traditional farms. For decades, European Union agricultural policies provided support that helped maintain traditional farming practices, recognizing their environmental and cultural value beyond mere food production. As the UK develops its own agricultural policies, the future of support for traditional upland farming remains uncertain. Climate change presents another significant challenge. Changing weather patterns affect vegetation growth, lambing seasons, and disease prevalence. More frequent extreme weather events like the devastating floods that have hit Cumbria in recent years can threaten both livestock and farm infrastructure. Conservation efforts must address these economic and environmental realities to ensure that Herdwick farming remains viable for future generations. This requires policies that recognize the multiple values of traditional farming, not just food production, but landscape management, biodiversity conservation, cultural heritage preservation, and rural community sustainability. In recent decades, Herdwick meat has experienced a remarkable culinary renaissance. Historically considered too strong-flavored for modern palates, Herdwick mutton is now prized by chefs for its distinctive taste, a direct result of the sheep's diet of heather, bilberries, and other wild plants found on the fells. This transformation from forgotten farm product to gourmet delicacy represents a potential economic lifeline for traditional Herdwick farmers. The slow-grown, naturally reared meat offers exactly the kind of authentic, place-based food experience that many consumers now seek. In 2013, this culinary value received official recognition when the European Union awarded Herdwick meat Protected Designation of Origin (PDO) status, joining elite products like champagne and Parmesan cheese. This designation requires that Herdwick sheep be born, raised, and processed in Cumbria to bear the Herdwick name, ensuring the continuation of traditional farming practices. The PDO status helps protect farmers from cheaper imitations and adds value to their product. High-end restaurants now feature Herdwick meat on their menus, often telling the story of the breed and its connection to the landscape as part of the dining experience. This gastronomic appreciation creates economic incentives to maintain traditional farming practices and helps connect urban consumers with the cultural heritage of rural food production. By valuing the distinctive qualities that come from traditional farming methods, this culinary trend helps preserve both the breed and the farming system that supports it. The breed's wool, once considered of little value due to its coarseness, has also found new markets in our sustainability-conscious era. For much of the 20th century, Herdwick wool was worth so little that it barely covered the cost of shearing. Farmers would sometimes burn or bury it rather than sell it at a loss. Today, however, its exceptional durability and natural water resistance are being rediscovered and valued for exactly what they are: the perfect adaptations to the Lake District environment. Herdwick wool's durability makes it ideal for carpets, rugs, and insulation that can last for generations. Its natural water resistance comes from lanolin content that evolved to protect the sheep in Cumbria's wet climate. Innovative textile artists and designers are developing new uses for this distinctive wool, creating everything from high-end home furnishings to fashion accessories that celebrate its unique qualities and heritage. Community initiatives have emerged to process wool locally, keeping more of the value within Cumbria and creating new rural employment opportunities. Some projects combine traditional techniques with modern design to create contemporary products with authentic heritage. This wool revival connects to broader trends toward natural, sustainable materials with transparent supply chains and authentic stories. By finding new markets for a traditional product, these initiatives help make Herdwick farming more economically viable while preserving traditional skills and knowledge. The wool that was once considered a worthless byproduct is becoming a valued resource once again, completing the circle of sustainability that traditional farming represents. As climate change and shifting agricultural policies create new challenges for upland farming, the Herdwicks' remarkable adaptability may once again prove crucial to their survival and the preservation of the cultural landscape they have helped create over the past millennium. Rising temperatures and changing rainfall patterns are already affecting vegetation growth on the fells. Some traditional grazing areas may become less productive, while others might see invasive species that the sheep find unpalatable. Extreme weather events are becoming more common, threatening both the sheep and the infrastructure of upland farms. Yet if any breed is positioned to adapt to changing conditions, it's the Herdwick. Their history is one of resilience and adaptation to harsh conditions. The very traits that have allowed them to thrive in the Lake District for 1,000 years, hardiness, resourcefulness, and the ability to utilize marginal vegetation, may help them weather the climate crisis. The future of the Herdwick depends on finding a sustainable balance between traditional practices and modern economic realities. This will likely require innovative approaches that honor heritage while embracing necessary changes. Some farms are experimenting with diversification, combining traditional sheep farming with tourism, education, or direct marketing of specialty products. Others are participating in environmental payment schemes that compensate farmers for the ecosystem services their traditional practices provide. Conservation organizations are working with farmers to document traditional knowledge and adapt it to changing conditions. The challenge is to preserve what makes Herdwick farming special, while allowing it to evolve enough to remain viable. The gray guardians of the fells have survived for over 1,000 years by adapting to their environment. With thoughtful stewardship, they can continue to thrive for 1,000 more. The story of the Herdwick sheep is far more than a tale of agricultural heritage. It represents one of the most remarkable partnerships between humans, animals, and landscape in British history. For over a millennium, these extraordinary creatures have not only survived in one of Britain's harshest environments, but have become essential architects of its iconic beauty. From their Norse origins to their modern renaissance, Herdwicks embody resilience in the face of challenge. Through disease outbreaks, changing agricultural policies, and now climate change, they have continued to adapt while maintaining their essential character. Beatrix Potter recognized what many had overlooked, that these humble sheep were keystone species in a complex cultural ecosystem. Today, as we face unprecedented environmental challenges, the Herdwick offers powerful lessons about sustainability, adaptation, and the deep value of traditional knowledge. The gray guardians of the fells remind us that conservation must encompass both natural and cultural heritage, that the most sustainable systems are often those refined over centuries of practical experience, and that true resilience comes from deep connection to place. As the Lake District continues to evolve, the Herdwick remains its living heart, a 1,000-year legacy of adaptation that may well continue for 1,000 more. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for updates. Your feedback is appreciated. We hope to see you again.